Since there's a number of cursed items floating around in the world, I feel like a lot of folks would sleep easier if they were protected from harming people in the safety of the one and only Warren's Occult Museum. Today we're discussing some cursed paintings, Charles Manson memorabilia, and more, so let's get into it. We might as well kick things off with the haunted eBay painting, or the Hands Resist 'Em. Based on a real-life photograph of the artist from his youth, this painting, which is a dance of a boy, a doll, and disembodied hands that can trace its origins to an abandoned brewery. Well, that's where this California couple stumbled upon its eerie presence. Soon after introducing the painting into the sanctum of their home, the couple began to deal with a lot of ickiness. We're talking, they were like, maybe we should sell this on eBay. We don't like it. It's not vibing well with our place. So, in the virtual marketplace, they presented their artifact to the world, but they did add a little note. Like, hey, by the way, this painting may or may not possess supernatural powers that could impact or change your life. Well, some folks see that and they're like, okay, bet. And yeah, so there was one couple, they were like, alright, we like this. They brought it home, and it didn't go so well with their daughter. Sorry, allow me to backtrack. The original advertisement did carry a tone of like, maybe the boy in the painting steps outside. Which, yeah, that's kind of the reason why the original couple was like, get this out of here. So the curious drama surrounding this haunted masterpiece reached its crescendo when it found a new custodian in Kim Smith, a gallery owner hailing from Michigan. The gavel of the digital auction, by the way, pronounced a sum of $1,025. Yeah, well, the enigma persisted. In a revelation that deepened the mystique, Kim Smith disclosed that her inbox bore witness to a procession of emails. A lot of testimonials from individuals claiming that, hey, we came to your art exhibit, we saw this painting, things didn't go well. I'm talking reports of repulsion, physical illness, all because of the haunted eBay painting. Apparently this ordinary painting was just some sort of conduit for spectral awfulness. Now, if you feel ill after we were talking about this painting, let us know in the comments. We'd love to know. Ever hear about the crying boy paintings? Well, we're speaking of paintings. So when Bob Smith was a youngin' in the 70s, he was fascinated by this painting in his grandmother's house. It was this cheap print of a well-known piece, and it was just hanging up in the living room wall, as one does. This photo depicted a boy who was kind of similar in age to Bob, and for some reason, he was sad. There was a lot of tears there. Why? No. Turns out, a couple of years after the painting went up on the wall, there was a really bad kitchen fire in the house. And even though the kitchen was destroyed, the rest of the house undamaged. This painting was eventually sold in a garage sale, and who got it? A couple of folks. For a couple of years, it did puzzle Bob why his grandmother was like, I'm getting rid of this painting, until he read a series of articles about a cursed painting. Yep, the crying boy. So this is one of a series of paintings completed by artist Giovanni Bregolin that was completed in the 1950s. And it's a lot of sad humans. So while it might be kind of strange to want an image of a weeping being on your wall, these pictures were popular all over the world. Like in the UK alone, there was over 50,000 copies sold. The folks represented were often very poor, but also very beautiful. In total, Giovanni painted over 60 paintings. And up until the early 80s, prints and reprints of his images were mass produced. In 1985, the most popular tabloid newspaper in the UK printed a story that caused panic, and that's where things get spooky. The Sun published an article entitled Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy, and describing the terrible experience of May and Ron Hall after their home was destroyed by fire. And the cause of their fire, much like Bob's grandmother, was a greasy pan that overheated and went kaboom. So you've got this fire spreading rapidly and destroying everything. But there was one thing that remained intact: copy of the painting. Well, the couple was like, okay, this painting is cursed, we're getting rid of this. And hey, this probably would have just been like a little sub-story in history, except for there's one little thing. A firefighter claimed that he had attended at least 15 house fires where everything was destroyed, except for prints of the crying boy, which were completely intact. Well, that's where things kind of went bonkers. Everybody was like, I've had a painting, I've had a fire, you've had a fire. So, turns out the Sun also claimed that a woman had lost her house to a fire 6 months after buying the painting. There were another family, fire, painting. I could go on, but you get the idea. There was somebody that even tried to burn her painting for safety, and then she just had a lot of bad luck. We're talking like, and it wasn't just residential homes either, there was businesses. There was a pizza parlor that had everything destroyed except for the painting. So when the Sun reported that even rational firefighters refused to have a copy of this painting in their homes, that's when things were like, okay, we've got a problem. Whew. It got to the point where even if there was like an image of a crying youngin' by any artist in a house that went on fire, yeah, these paintings were blamed. Thankfully, the Sun was like, okay, you know what, things are going crazy, we've got an idea. They offered the frightened public a solution. On Halloween night of 1985, hundreds of these paintings were collected together by the newspaper and burnt under the supervision of the fire brigade. So, if we want to backtrack, why were all these paintings cursed? Well, theories ranged from the person depicted in the picture being cursed because icky, Apparently the subject of the painting had died in a fire and his spirit was trapped in the art. And the most enduring story claimed that the boy accidentally set fire to the studio of Giovanni. Simply put, wherever this painting went, fires followed. Not good. Charles Manson was sentenced to death following his conviction in 1971, and even though California was like, death penalty is not good in 1972, he was still in prison for a very long time. So we all know about the cult, right? Well, everybody was like, okay, once he goes in prison, the cult's over. Well, not so good. Not so easy. He had a way of keeping the cult going. He had a demonic influence on his cult, and he sent a lot of letters and a lot of mail from prison, which don't think he would be allowed to in nowadays. So what did he do? Well, he used electrical thought impressions on a TV. Somehow he got a TV. I don't know. Then he mailed it to a grad student so he could manipulate him from afar. This poor guy was tormented by all sorts of hallucinations and hauntings while he owned the TV. Now, eventually he was selling a car. I think it was around 2012, and he was like, I'm just gonna leave the TV in the car, and some other letters from Manson. So the guy who bought the car was like, what on earth did I do? Well, turns out he got cursed. He was out of work for like months, his mom got ill, she passed away, there was a motorcycle accident where one of his buddies died, and like even though he was like, I'm a skeptic, he's like, there's something going on here, like we're 2 and 2 making 4, this is bad. So he's like, what do? He didn't think of burying it, he didn't think of burning it, no, he mailed it to a friend. And his life got better. I don't know how his friend's life got, but I can't imagine it went well. So how far would you go if you missed out on getting a job? Would you like post some 1-star reviews? Maybe you'd set a creepy carving of Satan outside the company building with a curse that foretold the destruction of the place? Too far? Not for a snubbed architect in 1890 Swansea, South Wales, who was denied the chance to rebuild a church because he was like, yeah, I'll curse it instead. The story goes that when famed architect Sir Arthur Blomfield beat a local architect for the contract to rebuild the ancient St. Mary's Church in the center of the town, the local man was ticked. A couple years later, he purchased an old row of cottages that stood opposite the church, tore them down, and built a large red brick building there, placing a statue of a smiling devil outside. Well, then he also placed a curse on the church, proclaiming that it would soon be destroyed and the devil would look upon the rubble and keep smiling. Well, what do you know? During a whole big bad situation in history, St. Mary's took a direct hit, allowing the curse to come true. Now the devil is a quirky landmark, but I wouldn't go too close. And for today's final artifact, in the case of this haunted jewelry shop ledger, it seems all the spooky accountancy aide wanted was to be beside the seaside. So, backtracking folks, after the demolition of the Shoreland Fuchs Jewelers in the city of Brighton on England's south coast, builder Tony Bennevoits removed an old shop ledger book he had found hidden behind a brick wall. He took the interesting example of retail memorabilia home, and soon enough his family was being plagued by all sorts of phenomena. We got all the usual stuff folks, strange voices, ghostly apparitions, you've even got images appearing in a rug. One particularly uppity spirit informed the family, actually the daughter, that you gotta get that book back to the first entry before it goes kaput. So not wanting to anger anybody, the family did donate the book to Brighton's most haunted house, and that's where you can see it today. That's it for me once again folks. I've been Alexa, your resident ooky spooky girly. See y'all next time, you love the spooky people.